Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort in commentary, Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And man, this show just keeps getting better and better as we inch closer and closer to Ultima Lucha. Some phenomenal matches tonight, some interesting storyline progression, and some interesting seeds planted potentially for future Ultima Lucha matches. And I'll tell you, just the way that Lucha Underground presents its product, presents its stories. We talk a lot about the presentation and the aesthetic. I just think that's really one of the cornerstones of what makes it so consistently great week after week. Ashton, what do you think of tonight's episode?
Absolutely. I mean, here's my thing. Lucha Underground has been consistently phenomenal since day one, episode one. And the craziest thing is that all it's been doing is getting better. We had one hell of a crescendo last week. And obviously the energy of the show had to come down a little bit this week. But that being said, the storytelling that they pulled off tonight and even some of the matches that we had tonight was great.
Definitely. I feel like even if you want to say that a little bit of the energy did come down, I feel like that was necessary, as you said, to like move the stories forward, because there was a little bit of backlog considering that last week was all night long, one match, and it was just built around all that. And I feel like they caught us right up to speed. I feel like we really haven't, missed anything. And again, it just continues to build upon itself. I mean, you said to me in one conversation that we were having personally just about the state of wrestling outside of the WWE bubble, that what Lucha Underground is doing, the word you used is revolutionary. And I just feel like they continue to do that. They continue to push the envelope with how they tell stories and how they use certain talents and assets. And I just can't wait for the cohesive whole that is going to be Ultima Lucha. It's going to be an amazing show. And just like tonight's episode, this was episode 34 of Lucha Underground?
33.
33. And man, it just keeps getting better and better. So with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I have no complaints about this show tonight, no nitpicks. Just another really fun hour, man. It feels so good. Like, it's gotten to the point where I know we always do TWitWoW afterwards, and I know I should always keep my eye out for any criticisms I have, but I gotta tell you, man, when Lucha Underground comes on, I just turn my brain off, man. I just get, coasted through that hour and just have the best possible time. So what about you? Any heats of the night tonight?
No heats of the night, but the only real thing that I would complain about is that we're getting a little bit formulaic with the 3 matches a show thing.
Right. I know you've mentioned that before.
Yeah, and it happened again tonight, so it's been very, very consistent, and I appreciate consistency in all the right places, but I've also been spending a lot of time praising Lucha for changing up their format a lot, but now it's getting to the point that we're getting 3 matches on every single show, except, well, obviously last week was being the exception, but still,
right.
I'd like some shows with 2 matches, some shows with 4 or 5 matches. A few weeks ago, we had an NXT show with 6 matches on it, so I get that you want to put on the best show possible, and maybe you feel like 3 matches is just kind of like that Goldilocks amount of matches where it's just right. I just want to see some variance. That's my only thing. It's not even a heat of the night, not even a nitpick, just a comment, just an aside, like maybe
Definitely.
If there's any way that you can do something to just change it up a little bit, it would be great.
I mean, variance, I think.
And you know what? The one thing that I'll even add, a lot of people that I've seen also note the 3-match formula have said that the first match typically doesn't have any storyline attached to it, and then the second and third one do. Tonight changed that. Tonight we had a very story-driven first match, and then I would say all 3 matches actually had very heavy stories behind them. So tonight did a great job of changing that up and taking away that criticism. I just want to see a little bit more variance in the amount of matches on a card.
I can certainly see where you're coming from. Like you said it's not even like a heat of the night, a nitpick, or a comment. I'm hoping that by, season 2 and hopefully subsequent seasons after that, because I always love talking about the prospect of Lucha Underground having a future. they can work those things out. They can massage those things out, because I think for them, they want to try and find that sweet spot of, we've got such a great story to tell. We just want enough time and a great enough flow to tell it. And I think 3 matches may be their sweet spot right now. But I mean, this is, I think, a very experimental season because it's their first and their product has never been done like this. So who knows what things, could change with Lucha Underground, and that's the promise of it. But yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying. We'll see what variants they have in the future, if any. So that'll be up to them.
Exactly.
With that said, I mean, we got nothing more to say, it seems like, so let us roll right on through to our Lucha Underground review. And, brother, how do we open this one up?
Well, the first thing that we got was Striker and Vampiro announcing that we are basically officially now, after last week's all-night-long match, on the road to Ultima Lucha. And I love that it had a very official feel to it. They said, we are on the road now, and some of the last matches are kind of winding down for the year. And I love that they really made this seem like, guys, it's winding down, the season's closing out, it's time to, put the foot on the gas pedal and not let up. And the first match is actually announced. We get our first match set for Ultima Lucha, and it's one that you've been anticipating very heavily. Johnny Mundo versus Alberto El Patron.
I want that win so bad. But it's going to be a great matchup. I'm glad that it got announced. But it leaves a very curious question, because we still have several weeks before this show. I'm wondering what these two men are going to do to each other. But even the broader question that feels great to ask, because it's Lucha Underground as opposed to, say, WWE or TNA, how is this matchup going to change, if at all? I mean, with so many weeks to go, I mean, are any stipulations going to be added? Are any, new elements going to be added? Because, never always expect the unexpected with Lucha Underground, I think is the creed that I go into every show with. So right now, it's just Johnny Mundo versus Alberto El Patron, and it may stay that way, and that is just fine, because they'll tear the house down. I'm just curious if anything will be added, in the several weeks that we got, so we'll see.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we know that we're going to get a bunch of stuff added in the several weeks that we've got to go until the show itself. I'm just excited that rather than announcing, and we know what it is after tonight, but rather than announcing the championship match first, they boom right ahead after what happened last week. We know now Johnny Mundo and Alberto El Patron is happening at Ultima Lucha.
Yeah, which makes my live reactions of what I wanted Mundo to do to Patron at Ultima Lucha all the more appropriate. So awesome stuff.
Absolutely. We will, we're going to have an amazing night that night. Ultima Lucha live reactions are going to be incredible. Up next, though, we had our first match of the night, that being Sexy Star taking on Superfly. Before the match itself starts, though, we do get a sit-down interview between Vampiro and Superfly. And it got a little bit awkward, a little bit of tension rose up because, I mean, let's not allow ourselves to forget, Vampiro was the one that prevented Pentagon Jr. from breaking Sexy Star's arm. And Superfly blamed Sexy Star for taking his mask, and he wanted her to feel the same pain that he felt when Pentagon Jr. broke his arm. So that's why he kind of screwed her over in that match, and he was hoping Pentagon would break her arm as well. Vampiro took that from Superfly. So now not only does Superfly have beef with Sexy Star, he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder when it comes to Vampiro as well.
What I think I really loved about this promo from Superfly's perspective is, again, it shows how deep and how much of a connection Lucha Underground has with the Lucha Libre culture.
Yeah.
Because Superfly is pretty much saying, look, muscles heal, bones heal, but the shame you feel when you get demasked, which is the biggest possible deal, in the Lucha Libre, in Mexico, that kind of wrestling style, it's irreparable. You can never come back from that. So I love how he doesn't even have anything against Pentagon Jr. because, again, it's bodily issues, and they'll heal. What Sexy Star did, it penetrates beyond the physical. It penetrates beyond the body. You're talking about, just everything that Superfly was about and everything that a luchador is about in that mask. And I just love that vibe that he gives off because I think it's so culturally relevant. I think it's so relevant given where they are. I think it makes for a great heel motivation for Superfly, who up until this point, and I don't say this, to be pernicious, but really wasn't that interesting, was just another competitor. But now he's got this little bit of a vendetta, this little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I really like that.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Superfly went from basically, and this is no disrespect to anyone, but when you've got as many talented luchadors on Lucha Underground as they do, I mean, Phoenix, Drago, Aerostar, all these guys, it's ridiculous. Now they bring in Bengala. We've got, I mean, Superfly is just 1 in 100, it feels like. He was just sort of generic luchador number 5, and now we're giving him an identity, we're giving him a backstory, we're giving him a motivation, and I love it.
Absolutely. And see, in just one segment, well, really, I guess I should say two, because he did attack Sexy Star, but then this interview that brings it all into focus, in one segment, he's become an interesting character with a dimension. It's not that hard, which I think makes, to kind of connect other dots here, your whole rant and like our whole discussion as a whole on the Divas division on Raw all the more appropriate, because it doesn't take that much effort when you've got great creative minds behind whoever you're trying to work for or with. And Lucha Underground shows that here with Superfly, so great stuff.
Exactly, yeah. As far as the match itself goes, though, I actually really enjoyed this match. I would say that this was Sexy Star's best match to date, I would say.
Here's the thing that I want to just let everybody know. I did have some hiccups during this match, but I did see some really cool moments. Sexy Star really taking it to Superfly with the cross bodies. I saw the big vault over the ropes of Superfly, and it looked like he landed on his feet, but then they buckled and he fell. That was a really cool spot.
Oh, that was insane. His name was apropos in that moment because he flew over those ropes.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
And that's the crazy thing, too, is whenever somebody takes a back body drop over the ropes, they always do it sideways. He went absolutely straight on, head first, landed on his feet, knees buckled, just perfect.
Yeah, it was a great moment. And, the back, I really like the physicality of the match. Again, Superfly stayed true to his word in the interview. He said he wasn't going to take it easy on Sexy Star because she was a woman. That's the mistake he made last time. And you can see, he was really kicking her at some points and really taking it to her. The finish came when Superfly does a double power bomb. He does one, then picks her up, and then, does the seated variation on the second one with the pin. And he actually, gets the win off of that, which I'll be honest, surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I like that. I thought it was a good finish. Glad to see Superfly again with this new kind of persona get a victory, and then he beats up on her a little bit post-match. Now, I thought Vampiro was going to do a run-in, maybe try and stop it again, given, Superfly's whole vendetta against him, like you ran in and you stopped Sexy Star from feeling the pain that I wanted her to feel. But Vampiro stayed put, and because lo and behold, he would have even bigger things to do later tonight, which we'll get to. But yeah, solid opening contest. I don't know now if Sexy Star and Superfly are going to have a rematch down the road. I would assume so. But maybe Superfly will want to move on to Vampiro. See, that's the open question here, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really enjoyed this match, not necessarily for the highlight moments, which, as you pointed out, and I'm very happy that you did, that back body drop over the top rope was phenomenal. But I just really like this match for the story that they told, because Superfly made a full transition to heel work. He didn't do any kind of head scissors or any kind of high flying things or anything that you would see a typical luchador do in this match. His entire arsenal, it felt like, was strike based. Everything was kicks, punches, chops, everything that you can do to hit somebody really, really hard without picking them up or lifting yourself off the ground. I really enjoyed his psychology, and Sexy Star actually really impressed me in this match. I feel like this, just as a performer, as an individual performer, I do feel like this was her best match to date, and that's actually speaking volumes because I really loved her match against Pentagon.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Sexy in this spot. I mean, I've pegged her as the first woman that's going to win the Lucha Underground Championship. I've been saying that since our earliest
I don't think many
episodes
people
of
would disagree with you at this point.
Yeah, I mean, she's got all the momentum right now. She's definitely the most relevant to be in that spot. I think behind her would be Ivelisse, because she actually already is a champion. She reached that pinnacle first. But, and I was glad to see her take the loss, because there was a point in time where I thought, well, maybe Sexy Star's winning a bit too much, but you know what? She tapped out to Pentagon a few weeks ago, and now she loses to Superfly tonight. Good, because it gives her something to battle back from. I don't know where all these pieces are going to come together, as is typical Lucha Underground fashion, but I think Sexy Star is going to come out looking really strong in whatever the final picture is in all this, and I just think she's got all the momentum in the world right now, so good on her.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she's doing great work right now. I think that it's debatable, but I think that her best match in Lucha Underground so far is definitely between this and the Pentagon submission match. That being said, though, let's go ahead and move on here. We kind of had a weird cinematic showing Drago training, and I don't know if it was just the version of the video that we were watching or if this was actually what happened, but it looked like he was training while listening to dubstep music.
Yeah.
And it was just a really weird juxtaposition. I mean, I kind of almost feel like it had to be just the channel that we were watching it on, kind of dubbing that over. But if that was the music that they were playing over Drago's training montage, I think that's kind of hilarious in a way.
Right, yeah.
Because like it's like I said, just the juxtaposition. Like you've got this badass dragon in this amazing, like dark, grungy Robert Rodriguez style lucha promotion, and you've got dubstep playing over it.
You know, I will say though, I love the idea that Lucha Underground has these kinds of bumpers. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean it was great to see the video. I'm just like I almost want to go back and rewatch it now just to see if other versions of it have different music playing, or if that's actually the music they had playing while he was training.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, up next, Pentagon Jr. comes out to the ring. This was supposed to be a 5-way for an Aztec medallion, but he gets announced first. He comes out, immediately just goes after Melissa Santos, grabs the mic out of her hands. She runs out of the ring. And then Pentagon cuts a promo about wanting something more than Aztec gold to sacrifice to his master. He calls out Vampiro for preventing him from getting the greatest sacrifice he could have possibly gotten the last time that they met. And then he goes out and grabs him by the collar. Vamp pushes back a little bit, and we get a stare down. And yeah, I mean, these guys seem destined to mix it up in the ring, don't they?
Yeah, they definitely do. That seems to be the collision course that we're on. Crowd seems very much into Vampiro, which is good. You know, if the audience is into him, and you could tell, like, he's trying to restrain, so he's having, like, an internal conflict, and Pentagon Jr.'s trying to bring something out of Vampiro, and we got a hint of that, you know, a few weeks back when he was colliding his head into the glass, into the mirror in the bathroom. So we know there's something very dark, you know, stewing in Vampiro, but he's trying to keep it suppressed. Finally, you know, a referee comes in, gets between those two, so they do not come to blows. Vampiro, though, you know, it did seem like he was getting ready to engage, you know, physically with Pentagon, because I think he, like, pushed his hand away when Pentagon was trying to grab his shirt, and, you know, the situation was intensifying. But then Pentagon left, and I loved how they handled it, because then Vampiro, you know, he went to collect himself, and Striker's like, you all right? You know what? Let's go to commercial, guys. And yeah, I love how they did that, because normally I feel
it made it feel real.
It made it feel real, and I feel like, you know, when you compare it to WWE, they have the worst timed commercial breaks, but not only did you time it perfectly, but you worked it into your story. I don't know. I think, you know, when I see effort like that, I have to appreciate it, and I just really liked how they did the whole thing here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, commercials are a huge issue with any program as far as figuring out when to put them, how long each one should be. I mean, I don't know how it works exactly, but I'm assuming that when you find out that you have a TV show, you're going to know exactly how many minutes worth of commercials you're going to have on your show, and it's your job to figure out when to put them and how long each break is going to be. So, I mean, if I had to guess, that's probably a pretty difficult job to do, and the fact that they were able to time this one as well as they did was brilliant.
Absolutely.
All right, up next, let's talk about our actual match that we had that Pentagon was supposed to be in but ended up getting kicked out for. Cage versus the Mack versus Aerostar versus Marty the Moth Martinez.
And I'm going to say something here that I never thought I would say, and it feels kind of weird even saying it now.
You freaking love Marty the Moth, don't you?
You could say it that way. I was going to say it that Marty the Moth, I think, is the best guy in there. Because to me, here's the thing. Anybody... Well, I say anybody, obviously I could, but you get what I mean, like in the wrestling sphere. You can do the memorable spots and this and that, and you can get your holy shit moments, and that's great. Marty the Moth has the personality, though, to connect all of that together and really stand out. And that's what I think makes him the best guy in there, because I'm going to remember every time he flapped his arms thinking he could fly, how he palled around with Aerostar at the beginning of the match while, you know, Cage was going at it with the Mack. I'm going to remember him screaming, Aztec Pride, and having those goofy facials. The guy emotes. The guy knows how to work an environment. He's charismatic, and all of that culminates in him being memorable. Not that I'm not going to remember the other guys, because they're all amazingly talented, but Marty the Moth, I think, is going to go further than anybody because he gets it. I feel like he really gets that you have to connect all of the things you do in ring together with how you are as a performer overall. He's a showman, and it really shows, and he's damn good at it. So I just wanted to give him that praise to start out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, what separates him from everyone else is that he's basically a cartoon. Well, I shouldn't even say that, because everyone in Lucha Underground needs to be a cartoon character, but he is not so much a 2015 comic book character as he is like a 1950s Bugs Bunny freaking cartoon character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he legitimately reminds me of like Wile E. Coyote. Not even joking.
Yeah.
You know, like he's just so wacky, and it's great. And I think that what makes it work so well is that he is this little kind of hint of almost comedy relief in an incredibly serious, dark, grungy style of promotion. Like, if Lucha Underground is a graphic novel, Marty the Moth Martinez is what happens when you drop, like I said, like a 50s Looney Tunes character into a graphic novel.
Right.
He's the Deadpool. He's the Deadpool. That's all it is. Like, he's the comic relief, but he's amazing and he's badass at the same time. He is the Deadpool of Lucha Underground.
I think the best part about Marty the Moth doesn't even really have to do so much with Marty the Moth, because I've already, heaped so much praise on him, so that's a given. It's also the environment that he's working in, being Lucha Underground, knowing how Lucha Underground uses its performers, as kind of storytelling devices and people going through their own narratives. You can get excited about Marty the Moth because they made note on commentary, like, he doesn't have a contract yet, so I guess it's kind of his story as being an official part of the temple. And even though he's not an official part of the temple, I already feel like he's an integral part given what we've seen of him so far, despite it being, so little both in cinematic segments and matches. I'm intrigued by his story. I want to go on this ride with him, and he's just so much fun, I think, to watch. I mean, again, I had this stupidest smile on my face in the opening minutes of this match. You have Cage and Mack going at it, which I want to talk about those two in a second. What does Marty the Moth do? He puts his arm around Aero Star, and they're palling around.
I loved that. Yeah, that was great. And Aero Star didn't fall for it like Prince Puma did. He didn't fall into that trap. He immediately went for a pinfall almost.
Yeah, and I like that too, because it shows, a sense of awareness and that kind of acumen on Aerostar's part. But that's why I said at the start that I think Marty the Moth is better than all those guys, because it's those little things, and I'm like, wow, that's so different, and it's so hard, I think, to be different in today's business, especially in Lucha Underground, on a more microcosmic scale, because look at the colorful variants of characters we have. We have undead people, and we have people, lovable losers, like, Son of Havoc, who's finally, getting on this winning streak. You have all sorts of characters from all walks of life, and here comes Marty the Moth that doesn't really fit in anywhere, but that's exactly where he fits, he's that square peg in the round hole, and we love him for it. I just love his mannerisms. But to kind of shift gears, because I said I want to talk about Cage and the Mack, I love their interactions in this match tonight. Very physical. Some great spots. One of my favorites was Cage German suplexed Mack, and Mack just, he ate it. He knows all, and he's just like getting up, and he's pumped up because he wanted to hurt Cage.
Dude, I want the Mack versus Cage in a singles match. Give them 15 minutes and just let him go.
Oh, definitely, dude. I'm telling you, that match could really steal the rug out from everybody else, because I love the Mack. Cage is a beast. And, and really what I want to say about the Mack from a storytelling perspective, I loved how, and we're going to rewind, I don't mean to go too fast here through the match, but I love how his primary concern was taking Cage out towards the end. Like, it came to a point where he's like, you know what, forget the medallion, kind of had a Pentagon moment there. He's like, I want to hurt Cage instead, because Cage put the worst kind of whooping on the Mack a few weeks ago in that cinematic scene that we all remember, and he's like, no, I'm taking him out. It's not so much about me winning, it's about Cage losing. And I love that. I love that we got to see the aggression from the Mack, that he's not going to be bullied and pushed around, that he's going to stand up for himself. I think it's a very likable quality, and he does so here successfully, at least for the moment. But those are some of my highlights. What about you, Ashton? What do you want to take away from this match on your end?
Oh, man. You know what? I think my favorite moment in this match was when Marty the Moth was going for pinfalls on the Mack in the middle of the ring, and the ref would count to 2. And the first time I thought it was a fast count, and he still only got to 2. But the first time Marty gets up and he goes, 1, 2, 3, and then the second time, I think it was Cage getting back into the ring while Marty went for a pin on the Mack, and the ref counted to 2 again, and he goes, this time he went, 1, 2, 3, like he's mixing up languages, and I love that he just can't count to 3 in a single language. He's mentally, I mean, WWE likes to say Dean Ambrose is unstable. That's just a gimmick. Marty Martinez is mentally unstable.
And that's what makes him work. I feel like, even though I love Dean Ambrose to death, I feel like they try way too hard to portray him as that lunatic fringe. Marty the Moth, it comes so naturally. I never feel like he's trying too hard. I feel like he's just being himself. It comes back to that Mick Foley line. You know, the real crazy person isn't who shouts at the top of their lungs or speaks in gibberish. It's the guy sitting Indian style naked in front of a TV eating a plate of brownies and acting like it's just an everyday occurrence. And that to me is Marty the Moth. He's that guy eating those brownies, and it's just a delight to watch. End of the match does come when Aerostar gets his springboard splash, does a hurricane run off the rope to Marty the Moth because he gets hung up. Aerostar, which, by the way, the fluidity of Aerostar's movements when he takes to the air are incredible. How he can jump from one rope to another rope to another rope and then go in the air. Insanity. And, you know, when he walks along the ropes and does that hurricane run, it just gets me every time. And then he does a springboard splash. So Aerostar does win the third medallion. Curious thing, though, Ashton, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may not have caught this. Do we know what the third medallion stands for? Because we knew what the first one was.
No, dude, I don't think that. No, because, well, here's the thing. Normally it was Dario Cueto introducing the medallions. He wasn't even on the show tonight. I think that's a heat of the night right there. No Dario Cueto. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's so weird that, like, he runs the ship and we didn't see anything of him tonight.
You know what, though? It's like the opposite of the heat of the night, because too often do wrestling promotions rely on their heel authority figure to set up the matches on the show. Like with WWE, it's always the authority coming out and saying, here are your matches for the night. Hope you enjoy them. Oh, and by the way, the guy that just interrupted us, we hate you so much, you're going in a match against our guy right now.
Yeah.
Like, it gets obnoxious. But no, I mean, Lucha Underground says, well, that's predictable, so we're not going to even have our heel manager show up for an entire episode. I don't even have a problem with that. I just really like Dario Cueto, and I wanted to see more of him.
And see, I think that's why they do it, though, because they know that his stock actually goes up when he doesn't appear. This way, when he does, you know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I have to say, too. Whenever Dario shows up, I never feel like it's wasted. I always feel like it's meaningful and whatever. And maybe
well, the last time we saw Dario Cueto, he set up tonight's main event.
Yeah. And that's just it. Now maybe somebody would say to me in response, or are you going to say that the authority is wasted? Sometimes I would say yeah, because sometimes they're just in there to, like, pander to their golden boy or pander to their own successes. And go
are you dust or are you the diamond?
Yeah, you know, exactly. And while promos like that can be good, and I actually, really enjoyed that promo, Dario isn't about himself. Like, obviously he doesn't.
You know what, John? I would have enjoyed that promo if he didn't say the same thing 8 times.
Yeah. But with Dario...
Triple H is about as capable of being succinct as Lucha Underground is of sucking.
Perfect comparison there. But I love that Dario, his main concern is maintaining this temple, and more, to the point than that, maintaining the violence. So, yeah, I really love that they kind of withheld him from us, because when we see him again, we know that something's going down.
And shit's about to hit the fan.
Damn right. So I really enjoyed this match. So to do a running count, Phoenix has the first medallion, Jack Evans the second, and now Aerostar is the third. 4 more to be distributed. I'm
digging the distribution of these medallions right now.
Now let me ask you something before we move on to our next segment. Do you think the end game could be a 7-way matchup at Ultima Lucha? Winner gets all the medallions.
It definitely seems that seems like a logical end game. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Because like Dario Cueto, the first time that he introduced them, when he was kind of just like holding them in that pouch talking to Matanza, said that when they're all assembled, it grants the person that has them great power. So, I mean, you've got to think that the main goal is to assemble all 7 of them.
I hope it's an elimination style match too. Really build up that intensity.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and that would make the most sense. Because if you just pin one person, then you should only get their medallion. Whereas, like you have 7 people, one person pins someone else, they have 2, pin someone else, they have 3. Like that, they just keep building it up. Yeah, that makes I love that now. I really want that to happen. All right.
We'll see, man.
Before I get too excited, let's move on. Up next, though, was probably my favorite segment of the night, actually. We had a cinematic showing Angelico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc training. Angelico's coming to PWG tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Friday. It's going to be amazing. We seriously need to move to California so we can watch Lucha Underground and PWG shows live.
Oh, God, that'd be incredible.
No, but Angelico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc training. Ivelisse and Son of Havoc are kind of sparring, and Son of Havoc keeps telling her to cover up, and she just doesn't, so he ends up clocking her one in the face. She returns with a punch in the gut, and they get into an argument. Angelico tries to break it up, and they all just kind of bicker, but then Catrina shows up. She gets up in Ivelisse's face and basically just tells them that death is coming for them, and there's nothing they can do about it. And then she raises up the rock, the Muertes rock, and as she's raising it up, the Disciples of Death show up out of a seemingly microscopic thunderstorm that just randomly shows up out of nowhere behind Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico, and they knock out the trio's champs. And then next thing you know, Muertes shows up out of nowhere, grabs Catrina by the hand, and they walk out, and then the camera shows the trio's champs on the floor knocked out, and the Disciples of Death are nowhere to be seen. So they're able to just apparate in and out of existence.
I love that this may be the one and only time that I kind of, sense is coming, because I even said, Disciples of Death, I think, would be the next trios tag team champions, and they definitely seem like they're on a collision course with the champions. I love it, man. I love the whole look of this unit of Catrina, Muertes, and the Disciples of Death. I love that, it kind of heightens the cinematic segments, because now you've got all these effects of, she raises the rock and they just appear out of nowhere, and how they control the lights in their entrance, like the lights will flicker. And yeah, it's a great packaging, a great presentation, and from their debut, we know that the 3 of them can go. I love their triple team finisher. Like if this was the team to beat Strange Bedfellows, Son of Havoc, Ivelisse, and Angelico, I would have no qualms with that whatsoever.
Those 3 desperately need an actual trio's name.
Yeah.
It is so hard to say all 3 of their names. And then it would be cool if it was just like, oh yeah, it's John, Kate, and Ed. But no, it's Angelico, that's 4 syllables. Ivelisse, that's 3. And Son of Havoc, that's another 3. It takes 10 syllables. And if you include the and, it's 11 just to say their names. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, really. Whereas
meanwhile, you've got the Disciples of Death. That's 5. That's badass.
Yeah, and you've got the whole D thing going on, so it all works out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
alliteration for the win.
Damn right. But not every babyface champ has to go on this long tear. I love that Prince Puma did it because he was the first champion, and it seems apropos. But these guys don't. If they were to lose it here, especially because they still haven't gotten on the same page, I could easily believe it.
And really, their entire reign has felt like a house of cards, because it could fall apart at any moment. All you need is just catch them in a way that Angelico can't jump off of anything to kill people with. And, Ivelisse has a broken ankle, so there's not really anything you can do about that. As long as you can 3-on-1 beat Son of Havoc, you should be fine.
Easier said than done, admittedly.
Right.
But, that really is the only thing you have to do at this moment. I'm hoping Ivelisse would be healed up for Ultima Lucha, but we'll have to, wait and see on that. But regardless, this team, they are on borrowed time. And I've even said I find more interesting what's going to happen to them in the aftermath, because that they're probably still not going to get along. What's Angelico going to do on his path? And more intriguing for me personally, what are Son of Havoc and Ivelisse going to do on theirs? Because you and I have been saying Son of Havoc, he is so over, and he's got such strong fanfare in the temple. I could see him being a world title contender Really, I'll even call it right now. I could see him being a world title contender in Season 2. We'll go by seasons instead of months and stuff like that. I think Season 2 could be his season. And he's already had such a strong season already. But yeah, I'm more looking forward into the fallout of this team when they lose those titles rather than what they're doing with them at present. And I think the Disciples of Death are more than ready to take on that responsibility. So we'll see.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, another thing that I love is that they're being very transparent about what they're building for Ultima Lucha. They're not trying to, like, I love how unpredictable Lucha Underground can be, but I love also that they're only unpredictable in the places where it makes sense to be unpredictable. Like, they don't go out of their way to be like, oh guys, I wonder what match there's going to be for the Trios Championships at Ultima Lucha. No, we know now. Like, it's pretty much set in stone that it's going to be Disciples of Death to take on the champs. And now we can transition smoothly because now we also found out tonight what our World Heavyweight Championship match is going to be because of the match that we had as our main event, Mil Muertes versus Drago. But before the match started, Drago got beat the F down.
By Hernandez.
Fernandez, you mean?
Yes, Fernandez.
That's right.
Just whips Drago mercilessly with a belt, chokes him with it, and really leaves him lying there. And my first comment was that I felt like kind of an asshole, because I have nothing against Drago at all. I think he's one of the best performers Lucha Underground has. But I was
you know
just
what,
like,
dude? Here's the crazy thing. Whether you think he's a great performer or not, Drago is unquestionably the best protected babyface in Lucha Underground right now.
Definitely.
Because you look at his two, and if we include tonight, which, I mean, spoiler alert, he lost. But if you include tonight, his two biggest losses were literally because of Hernandez.
Yeah.
The first one, he lost to Prince Puma because of Hernandez interfering. And now this one, Hernandez beat the crap out of him beforehand, and you can easily blame that on his loss tonight.
And from that, I'm going to really emphasize you can infer, not guarantee, but infer that we have 4 matches for Ultima Lucha, because you have to imagine Drago's going to want a piece of Hernandez. He's going to want Hernandez. Because Hernandez is just accumulating.
That's if he makes it to Ultima Lucha.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, knowing Dario Cueto, he may want to try and push Drago out of the temple now that he's lost this world title opportunity. So I don't know. But as far as the match itself goes, since we already kind of talked about the finish first and wove that into discussion, what is there really to say? Mil Muertes just continues to be one of the best booked monsters. I don't even really want to count Matanza because he's not really in ring yet, and he may never be. We don't even know where Matanza still fits.
Yeah.
But as far as like in ring competitors, Mil Muertes is incredible. Dude, there was one point in this match where in ring, because he did it twice, once on the outside, but then once in ring, where he speared Drago, and it was so Goldberg-esque, the spear. My mouth got it. I'm like, well, Drago's dead. And I loved Vampiro's kind of comparison. He said that wasn't a spear, that was a train hitting a Volkswagen. And just the impact looked devastating. It makes Drago look like $1 million because the guy still tried fighting, which commentary, and I'm telling you, commentary's just gotten so they've really come into their own throughout the course of this season. They bring it back to Phoenix. They say Drago has that fighting spirit like Phoenix that's got to enrage Mil Muertes. So Drago keeps fighting up to the bitter end, actually, in the finish, because he tries throwing a punch. Muertes catches the fist. He bends it, controls the arm, has it captured, does the flatliner, and gets the win. And I love it because Drago didn't go down like a punk because of Hernandez. He gave Mil Muertes a fight as best as he could. Muertes, who you and I knew he was going to run through Drago anyway. I even said to you after the Hernandez beatdown, well, if it wasn't easy for Mil Muertes before, it sure as hell is now. And yeah, we have got an amazing main event. I'm trying to remember who said when I was hyping up all night long that they felt like the main event was going to be Mil Muertes versus Prince Puma. And I said that was perfect because Mil Muertes has been one of the best characters built up all season. And if we think back to Aztec Warfare, let's not forget, as much as I'm fixated on Johnny Mundo, Mil Muertes came in third in that match. He was part of the final 3. So it makes sense now that he gets to step up and get this one-on-one opportunity when he has been killing it all season long, character-wise and in ring-wise. This is the best possible main event I think Lucha Underground could have come up with for their biggest show per season. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, for sure. Was that maybe Stony Guerrero?
That could have been Stony Guerrero. It could have also been. See, his username is multiple letters, but I think it's BFD or BDF something or other. Somebody said that they felt like Mil Muertes versus Prince Puma was going to be the main event. And to that person, I'm so sorry. I can't remember your username. I feel awful. But good on you. Very, very clutch to think of that. And I stand by what I said. It's a phenomenal main event. I cannot wait to see that match.
Yeah, you were right. It was that MBFBCC 222.
Okay, awesome. So to you, sir, excellent work. But yeah, I cannot wait for that main event. It's going to be amazing.
Man, I'll tell you what. This match tonight was. Are we actually talking about the match yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, say what you want to say, man. So what about the match?
I loved Mil Muertes in this match. And here's my thing. Again, I always bring it back to the booking with Drago, because to me, he is the best booked character in this promotion, bar none. Specifically babyfaces, because I would argue that Mil Muertes has been a better booked heel, but still. I mean, Drago, his role in tonight's match was to not die. That was his job. Because everything Mil Muertes did, as soon as Drago started stirring, like looking like he still had life in him, Muertes didn't let up. He went right after him again. Muertes throws him into the freaking chairs in the audience, and as soon as Drago starts moving, Muertes goes over and spears him again and hits him with a chair and waits for him to get up. Drago starts to get up again. Muertes grabs him, takes him over to the announce table, and power bombs him onto the announce table. Drago starts moving again, and at this point, Muertes had gone into the ring and knelt down on the Aztec seal in the middle of the ring. But Drago starts stirring again. Muertes goes out, takes him into the ring, and does his finisher. Like, Muertes was absolutely relentless in this match, and I love it. It was so perfect. And another thing that I freaking loved, that normally in any other context it would have pissed me off. 2 different instances I remember, Drago did an offensive move to Mil Muertes, and Muertes recovered first. I love that with a character like Mil Muertes.
Which makes the Ultima Lucha main event all the more perfect, because from where I sit, it's the most credible babyface, who is the champion, so that should be all the credibility they need, against the most credible heel. Because ever since Mil Muertes has been revitalized, I don't think anybody can stop him. But see, maybe except Prince Puma, and they create that ambiguity through the strong booking, because Prince Puma has battled back, guys like Cage and Hernandez, and Mil Muertes comes from that similar type of mold, except I think he is just grossly, exemplified in those traits, amped up. Amplified is actually the word I was looking for. And that's the difference. Mil Muertes isn't like a Cage or a Hernandez, but Prince Puma may have to go in with that similar kind of mindset that he did against those guys, against Mil Muertes. And by the strong booking of Prince Puma, you can't count him out. But how can you look at what Prince Puma, or what Mil Muertes has done, rather, to Drago and to Phoenix before him, and say that he is going to be beat for 3 seconds by Prince Puma? I love it. I love how they created the ambiguity through strong booking. Imagine that. You book 2 guys strong and you put them in the ring with each other, and I have my doubts. So, way to go,
And
John.
it's 2 guys that have been getting booked strong consistently since they showed up.
Exactly.
I mean, say what you will, Puma lost his first match in Lucha Underground, but guess what? He's the champ. He's worked his way from losing on the first night to being the only Lucha Underground champ that we've had the entire season. And here's the thing. Say what you want about the season only being, I want to say, 10 months long, maybe. Yeah, 10 months long, maybe 9.5. Puma won that title in week 9, and it is now week 33. So he's held that title for 24 weeks. I mean, it's basically, it's not quite 6 months, but it's getting close to it.
And the thing with Mil Muertes, they protected him, because when you think about even the lost feud with Phoenix, Catrina revealed that was all part of a greater plan.
Yep.
So you can't even hold that against Mil Muertes, but he lost the feud to Phoenix. Did he? Because from where I'm sitting, he won the freaking war.
No, I would say he lost the battle against Phoenix, but he won the war.
Exactly. And that's really all that matters, Ashton, because that's all anybody remembers. And that's, again, what makes this main event so freaking perfect. To cap off a first season, and guys, like, when I go into Mar mode, I would think the perfect main event would be Johnny Mundo everything. But when I'm looking at it objectively and I'm injecting sincerity into it, you really couldn't have done better. Everyone is exactly where they need to be. And Lucha Underground, they knew it, and they got us there. I am so freaking looking forward to this show. Live reactions is going to be epic, guys. Seriously, it's going to be amazing.
It is. Can't wait. And again, yet again, we have another match right here. Boom. We have Muertes versus Prince Puma lined up for Ultima Lucha. Add that to the list.
Yeah, exactly. So that's 3 confirmed matches, and again, 1 heavily inferred match with Drago and Hernandez.
What are the three confirmed matches? Obviously this. What are the other 2? Oh, Mundo versus Patron. What's the third confirmed match?
Yeah, what's the third confirmed? I thought there was a third confirmed.
We've been doing some speculating. Maybe we'll get the Disciples of Death versus.
That could be my mistake. Yeah, I may have thought Disciples of the Trio
versus the Trios champs. That's heavily implied.
Yeah.
But also, I would say that the 7-way elimination match for the Aztec medallions is probably implied.
Right.
Possibly Drago versus Hernandez. I almost feel like you're not going to be able to fit all this stuff on a 2-hour show, so Drago versus Hernandez might get bumped.
Maybe. It may just be on an episode of Lucha Underground.
Yeah, because it makes a ton of sense for them to have that match definitely happen this season.
You have to imagine that Chavo's going to do something at Ultima Lucha, his whole story with the crew.
Maybe we'll have a final Chavo versus Blue Demon match.
Maybe.
I think it would make sense if they would use that match as kind of like a cool down match between 2 crazy, insane matches. Because, that was the first ever match on Lucha Underground. So to have that also occur on your biggest show of the year, and have it be the rubber match, since Chavo's won 1 now and Blue Demons won 1, I think it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And see, that's the exciting thing about Lucha Underground is that, we have these 2 confirmed matches. I really thought it was 3, my mistake. We've done so much like fantasy booking, I guess. But they've got so many other stories outside of those 2. Like, you've got to decide what makes it to Ultima Lucha, and more importantly, how does it make it to Ultima Lucha? They've got a lot of breathing room, quite a few weeks left before the show. What's going to be resolved, what's going to be pushed, forward. That's why I even said, I'm really curious about the whole Mundo Patron thing. The idea that they've already, signed that for Ultima Lucha. What are these guys going to do all those weeks in between? I'm telling you, Lucha Underground's balancing act, it's been one of the things I've commended them the most for throughout the first season. Well, it's almost over, and you got to wonder, are they going to catch all the balls? Is something going to drop? That question still looms, and all the pressure's on right now, but nobody handles pressure quite like Lucha Underground has right now, so I'm excited.
Absolutely. All right. Well, all right, guys. That's the show. The biggest thing that happened after the match itself was just Puma coming out and staring down Will Muertes. So, yeah. John, if you want to move on.
Yeah. High spots and low shots. Low shot, very straightforward. Drago. The man that's been a thorn in your side, and Hernandez or Fernandez, whatever you prefer.
Honestly, dude, I feel like it would have been more apropos to almost make Drago our low shot 2 weeks ago when it was announced that he would have this match, because I don't think anyone had any hope that he was going to win this.
Yeah, really. And, it happened. But, here's the thing. Again, at least they protected him because he still brought the fight to Muertes. Muertes still ended up winning. But you never know. It's always going to be that doubt in the back of your mind. What if Hernandez hadn't interfered? What if Drago really was 100%? Would things have gone differently? I'm inclined to think no. I think you are too. But they at least create that doubt, and that's enough. So it was a rough night for Drago, as anticipated. But now, hopefully, he can collect his debt on Hernandez. That remains to be seen. So
I'm just glad he's back in the temple.
Oh, you and me both, definitely.
My low shot, though, is going to have to be the Trios champs. Angelico, Son of Havoc, Ivelisse. They've had their run, but, man, death is knocking at their door in the most literal sense possible.
Absolutely. My high spot, you know what? I'm going to say Aero Star.
I like that.
Won the 3rd medallion, and you know what? Whether he gets all the medallions or not, he's probably punched his ticket to Ultima Lucha. So, in the grand scheme of things, he's actually had a more profitable night than most people would probably give him credit for at first glance. So, yeah, he is my high spot. My
high spot, I mean, I feel like I have a very limited number of options here. It pretty much just kind of comes down to Mil Muertes and Superfly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
No, you know what? My high spot's Catrina.
All right, I like that.
For multiple reasons. First of all, she's with Mil. Like, when you're with Mil, no one messes with you. But second of all, she's pretty much a badass without Mil, too. I mean, look at what she did to Dario Cueto a couple weeks ago. And third of all, she's also going to be the manager / valet, whatever you want to call her, for what I'm guessing is going to be the next Trios champs. So, in 2 months, we could very easily see her being the manager again / valet, whatever you want to call her, for the world champion and the Trios champs. So all of the championships would be under Catrina's guide.
Yeah, man, that's some heavy stuff to think about. And I love your pick, though, because, I mean, even commentary says, specifically Vampiro, that it's Catrina directing traffic. You know, like she's in the dominant position of power in her relationship with Mil Muertes, and clearly with the Disciples of Death, as has been illustrated quite a few times now. So Catrina, probably next to Dario Cueto, if not maybe even above Dario Cueto, that's a debate to be had, is the most powerful person in the temple right now. And that is scary to think about. So I
think it's pretty clear that she's ranked above Dario Cueto, considering she got him to bend to her will.
That may be, but he hasn't sicked Matanza on anybody yet. And when he did, Matanza ate someone's face off. So knowing that Dario Cueto has that under his...
That's not Dario Cueto, though. That's Matanza. Those are two different entities.
But it seems like Dario Cueto, for the moment, controls Matanza. But
I wonder how Matanza's going to react when he finally gets let out of his cage. If he's going to be happy to be let free, or if he's going to be a little bit bitter for being locked up for so long.
I kind of hope he eats Dario Cueto first, but then we would lose such an amazing authority figure, so I'm conflicted.
Yeah. Maybe like Dario Cueto has like multiple lives, and we just get Matanza to take one of them.
Yeah, I mean, Lucha Underground, that's the great thing about it being so honest about what it is like, yeah, I could buy Dario Cueto coming back to life. Be like, oh, hi, Dario, yeah, it was only a flesh wound. So, that would totally work
wow.
out.
Monty Python reference on Lucha Underground TWitWoW.
But, with that said, do you have anything else you want to say about Lucha Underground or Ultima Lucha or anything like that?
I am just so caught up in this promotion's sort of rules, I almost want to say. Not necessarily rules, like their universe, the whole, like everything that I said rules because like it's almost like it's a sci-fi wrestling promotion, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it's got like the supernatural stuff going on, and you've got all these elements with death and extra lives with Phoenix and the Aztec medallions. And I love there's got to be a good word. I guess the mysticism almost.
Yeah. I think I could see what you're trying to articulate. Just those...
kind of like the atmosphere, the culture. I don't even know. Like, there's got to be a better word for it, but that's what I got.
Just the whole mythology, it seems like.
The mythos. That's
yeah.
what I was looking for. Yeah. The Lucha Underground mythos has got me absolutely entranced, and I just want to live in this world, and I'll probably get killed in the day or two, but it would be worth it just to live in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we get to peer inside it for an hour a week.
Yeah.
And
it never feels like enough.
It never does, and that's how a product is supposed to feel, though. We made the Lost parallels. I think so many people, when they were going through that show's run, would always kind of throw their hands up and scream. I know I did when I was going through the episodes on DVD. I'm like, no, it can't end that way. What? No. And that's how I am with Lucha Underground. I'm like, what? No. What? No. Like, consistently, there's always something that just makes you go, okay, that was a thing. And then, it's such a great product. And again, like we said at the start, I shared that conversation you and I had where you used the term revolutionary. Well, it is, committing a revolution. It is engaging in a revolution against what we know are preconceived notions about professional wrestling. It's challenging them. It's taking the fight to them. And dare I say, from where I sit, and I know you too, it's winning. And I hope it continues to. And I hope more people continue to see just the different aesthetic and the mythos and just everything that Lucha Underground has to offer, and they come around. I commend these guys, and they're building to such a great show. I remember I shared one photo that asked, "Are you ready for Ultima Lucha?" I was like, hell no. I'm not even going to live through all night long, because that was before that big match between Mundo and Puma. I just love what these guys are doing, and I give them all my love and support in the world, and I hope everybody listening to this does the same.
Absolutely, and even everybody that isn't listening to this, seriously, watch Lucha Underground.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm flattered that you guys listen to us, but if you haven't watched the episodes beforehand, go and do that. In fact, really anybody that hasn't watched Lucha Underground, personal challenge, catch up on all the episodes before Ultima Lucha. Be invested in the story. That's going to be the biggest treat about watching Ultima Lucha is that, we're in the know. We're in the thick of these stories. I'd like any first-time viewer, don't let that be your first viewing experience. Catch up and really, really revel in the story because it's got such a great story to tell.
And that kind of comes back to the YouTube channel too, because if you don't have, at this point, the 33 hours of free time to watch every single episode of Lucha Underground so far, by the time Ultima Lucha rolls around,
right.
They have a YouTube channel where they upload a 1 to 3 minute recap of each week every week.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like you can get through an entire season's worth of stories, not necessarily matches, but stories in about an hour and a half.
Yeah. Do yourself that service, guys, because, as great the wrestling matches as Lucha Underground has, that's not really its selling point. The way it tells stories. Again,
the matches are incredible, too, and if you have the free time, you should definitely check out a few of the top matches, but really the storytelling and the like I said, the mythos, the mythology, the supernatural elements, the fact that they're sort of building everything, keeping the continuity, because everything that they do, I've said this before on TWitWoW, everything they do is either paying off of something or it's going to get paid off in the future. It's very, very continuity based, and that's what makes it so amazing, I think.
Absolutely. With that, I could sing Lucha Underground's praises all night long, but I think we'll cut it here. Anything else you want to say, Ashton?
No, sir.
All right, guys, with that said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. I'm just going to ask straight up, what are your betting odds right now? Puma, Muertes, it's going to be the ultimate Lucha Underground Championship match to main event Ultima Lucha. Who do you got walking out with that strap to close out Season 1? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pleetoff, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook, some of the most passionate wrestling fans you will ever meet, a lot of Lucha Underground fans on there as well. But I get it. If you're a minimalist in conversation and you just want to keep it to myself and my cohort in commentary here, Ashton has got you covered. He has made a TWitWoW subreddit. You can ask us whatever you want there. You can comment on all of our episodes of TWitWoW, whatever your heart desires. We aim to please. And we will see you again for our NXT review, where Finn Balor will go one-on-one with the Man-Beast Rhino. Will Finn Balor get a measure of revenge before he unleashes the demon July 4th in Sumo Hall against Kevin Owens? Or will Rhino shred Finn Balor's insides with a gore? Until then, tune in and peace out.